More than a year now, farmers in La Harpe, Illinois usually dump their grain in La Harpe, and they've had to go elsewhere over the past year. That's because last summer's derecho devastated the town's grain elevator. WGEM's Dylan Smith reports on a new effort to help that operation rise from the ashes.
June 29th, 2023, a day that turned tri-state communities upside down. Wind gusts in excess of 100 miles an hour, and in the middle, the Roquette grain elevator in La Harpe.
Two bins were smashed against each other. We had roughly a 500,000 bushel of corn.
Today, a new effort to revitalize what was lost. Roquette elevator workers, along with representatives from Valley View Agri-Systems, formally broke ground on the same ground that was devastated last summer.
Our plans are to get some of the foundations done yet this year, and maybe even one of the 90-foot bins built.
The rebirth will create 4 grain bins.
We're very excited.
The elevator manager, Mike Falk, says farmers had to go elsewhere to dump their grain. He estimates being operational by next harvest.
It is very important to our local producers to understand that Roquette we're not going anywhere. We had the chance to go someplace, without rebuilding, but we chose to rebuild to take care of the producers in this area.
Contractors say these new bins will be relatively the same size as the previous 6, with one holding at least 450,000 bushels of corn. A rail loadout system will unload roughly 20,000 bushels an hour, putting life back into what used to be.
The relationships that we have with the farmers, we've tried hard to keep that, and I'm looking forward to taking care of them again.
Dylan Smith, WGEM News, La Harpe, Illinois.
Contractors say they anticipate the winter weather will interfere with the project, but they still believe the location will be up and operational by next harvest.